"Look, your worship," said Sancho Panza, "what we see there are not giants, but windmills, and what seem to be their arms are the sails." "It is easy to see," replied Don Quixote, "that thou art not used to this business of adventures. Those are giants, and if thou art afraid, away with thee out of this, while I engage them in fierce and unequal combat."
I can't give you anything but love, baby. That's the only thing I've plenty of, baby.
Kissy kissy and welcome to the season finale of the Fantastic Miss Piggy podcast. I'm Danny Horn, and this podcast chronicles my journey to learn everything there is to know about that divine swine, the incomparable Miss Piggy. This week, windmills. I'll be telling the story of a fan organization called CAMPO, the Committee to Award Miss Piggy the Oscar, which was founded in 1979 by two guys in Cincinnati with a post office box and a dream. As usual on this podcast, this is a love story. It's one-sided love, perhaps, expressed in an overdramatic way. It's the story of a magnificent obsession full of grand gestures and magical thinking and unreasonable expectations for success. In other words, it's a story about Miss Piggy. It's February 1979, and it is a hard winter in Cincinnati, Ohio. Procter & Gamble, a corporation that makes personal care and hygiene products, they've got their headquarters in Cincinnati, and that's where James and Bruce met. James Hall is a 45-year-old executive in the marketing division at Procter & Gamble. He's a married man with two children. Bruce Collin is a 22-year-old who just graduated from Connecticut College. This is his first job as a business analyst in the marketing department. And the two of them bond when they discover that they're both massive fans of Miss Piggy. Now, that's not super unusual for February 1979 when the entire world was in love with The Muppet Show. This was the middle of the third season, and just to help orient you Piggy-wise, this is when Miss Piggy was singing "I'm a Woman" with Raquel Welch and "I Enjoy Being a Girl" with Cheryl Ladd. The show's viewed by somewhere around 235 million people in approximately 108 countries. It was a massive hit. In fact, it was pretty difficult in 1979 to distinguish yourself as a Muppet fan during a period when practically everybody was a Muppet fan to some degree. I managed it, and James Hall and Bruce Collin managed it, but it takes work. So these two guys are talking at lunch. I'm imagining this is lunch, and they agree that Miss Piggy is such a superstar that she should be nominated for an Oscar for Best Actress for her work in the Muppet movie, which has not yet been released. This is February. Movie's not out until June, so they haven't seen it, but they assume correctly that it's going to be a masterpiece, and Miss Piggy's going to be amazing in it. They know that you have to run a whole campaign to get somebody nominated for an Academy Award, so they decide to start an organization, CAMPO, the Committee to Award Miss Piggy the Oscar. They spend $20 on Post Office Box 3311, and then they write up a press release and they send it to Cincinnati newspapers and TV stations. Now, my knowledge about this begins when they start getting national coverage, so I don't know who picked up the story first. Whoever it was, it must have been a slow news day in Cincinnati. Today, two men rented a post office box. It's not that exciting. But somebody ran the story, and a couple days later, when James and Bruce came back to check their post office box, it was jammed with hundreds of letters. Okay, letters. For younger listeners, let me see if I can help you out on this. In 1979, the post office was kind of like texting, but you had to write it down on a piece of paper and then go outside and drop it in a mailbox. And you paid money for it. There was like a micropayment every time. And it still took days to get to the person that you wanted to talk to. So for James and Bruce, the fact that hundreds of people took the time to write a letter for their silly pig project must have been so exciting. It was like going viral, but there's no algorithm to support it. It's just pure public enthusiasm for their idea. And over the course of this year, James and Bruce are going to convince themselves that this might actually happen, that Miss Piggy might actually get nominated. Now, I've talked on this podcast about Miss Piggy as a trickster figure, someone on the outside of the culture who does things that you're not supposed to do in order to upend the traditional power structure and make the world funnier and stranger and more interesting. And here's two guys from the marketing department at Procter & Gamble who accidentally turned themselves into tricksters, using the power of the popular press and the mechanics of the postal system to disrupt this self-important ritual of highbrow culture that we call the Oscars. So in March, about a month into this lunatic project, the United Press runs a story about James and Bruce, which gets syndicated to newspapers all over the country. The headline is "Cincinnati Businessmen Campaign for Miss Piggy." The news stories always say their age, and they always say businessmen, because that's what makes this real. These aren't kids. We're not talking about a children's show. These are grown-up people with jobs. Miss Piggy has hundreds of thousands of fans, says the UPI story, but none more ardent than a couple of Cincinnati business executives. They have formed an organization with the sole purpose of getting Miss Piggy, a puppet, nominated for a 1980 Academy Award for Best Actress. So, couple things. First, quote, they formed an organization is fantastic. It's the two of them in a post office box. Also, Miss Piggy, a puppet. That's the only time in this entire story that anybody uses the P word. There are a lot of pig jokes, that comes up all the time, but the fact that she's a puppet is from this point forward just not something that we talk about. As of March 1979, that is no longer part of the public discourse on Miss Piggy. In this first national article, James and Bruce don't say the number of letters they've received yet, but they say that they plan to bring baskets and baskets of mail to the Motion Picture Academy. Now, they've already been in touch with the Motion Picture Academy, and they've received what the story calls a witty response, which means pig jokes. This is from Martin Cooper, a vice president of the Academy's public relations firm. While the Academy does not participate in the pork barrel campaigns, which are an unfortunate part of the annual Oscar campaign, we do wish you appropriate success with your commendable support of such a weighty candidate for Academy honors. He also says that Miss Piggy's thespic talents have caused many competitors to curl their tails with envy. That is Martin Cooper's witty response. Thank you, Martin. So Bruce tells the United Press, Miss Piggy's assertiveness and her high-class style represent today's woman. We expect the Academy to listen to our Oscar demands, for we warn you, what Miss Piggy wants, Miss Piggy gets. And about 2 weeks later, there's another UPI story. Miss Piggy has strong campaign, where they report that CAMPO has now received an estimated 5,000 letters. When James and Bruce go to the post office box now, there's just a card in the box. They have to go to the counter to pick up all of their mail. This April United Press article has quotes from some of the letters, so there's a bunch more animal jokes. W.H. Wally of Toronto, Canada says, Miss Piggy is a cut above the rest, and certainly far above some of the dogs that have won Oscars in the past. Brookville, Indiana attorney Michael A. Douglas, I'm confident that Miss Piggy's performance will be far better than the other turkeys who will be nominated. Paula Benningfield from Pocatello, Idaho writes, it would be an honor for Miss Piggy and a step forward for all pigdom. Do you suppose receiving such an award may alter her self-effacing personality and drive her whole hog into delusions of grandeur? You hear whole hog a lot. Here's James. The response has been whole hog. Letters from doctors, lawyers, bankers, and corporation presidents, every segment of the population. Petitions are even being circulated in offices. So this organization is really gaining traction. Moving forward to June 1979. The movie comes out on June 22nd, so people can actually see it now. Bruce says that he's seen it 5 times, and the movie's a hit. It's going to make $65 million, and it'll end up at number 10 for the year. And meanwhile, CAMPO has received 10,000 letters from all over the world. Folks from Canada and Australia, Norway, West Germany. Bruce says people are even sending us petitions they signed in ticket lines at the movie. Later this year, we're going to take all the letters and petitions and make a presentation before the Academy Award executives. So they've got a plan now.
We're going to Hollywood! No, I mean, listen.
The newspapers are asking whether they're serious, and Bruce says we're totally serious about having a lot of fun. In a world where there's so much tension and trouble, it's nice to have a character that represents fun. When we started our campaign, we thought the response would be good, but it's been incredible. The letters we get are fantastic. People going on for 3 and 4 pages about what Miss Piggy means to them. She's one classy pig. In July, the Boston Globe runs an article called The Muppets Go Hollywood, where they talk to Jim Henson and Frank Oz. And then they called the Academy to determine whether Miss Piggy was being denied her civil rights. And it's the Boston Globe, so they get through to John Pavlik, the executive director of the Academy. We hadn't really thought about it, Pavlik says, but we don't give Oscars to characters. The Globe points out that they give Oscars to actors and actresses who play characters, so according to the rules, Frank Oz should be eligible for an award as Best Actress. Pavlik pauses, as naturally he would, and he says, well, a man can't be eligible for a Best Actress award, so I guess he would be eligible for an award as Best Actor, even though he plays a female character. So that sounds an awful lot like a no, but the Globe prints CAMPO's post office box and encourages more people to write in. By August, this is when the magical thinking starts. James and Bruce have received 20,000 letters. They've been interviewed by Us Magazine, the London Daily Mirror. They've talked to TV stations in Germany and Australia, and there is no more of this, we're serious about having fun stuff. Now Bruce is saying, We are totally serious. Sure, it's fun, but I think we're going to pull it off. I know we're going to pull it off. You can hear him convincing himself. They got some money from a local theater to print up some incredibly cluttered bumper stickers that say, "Help award Miss Piggy the Oscar, write Campo, Box 3311, Cincinnati, Ohio 45201." And then it has a picture of Miss Piggy holding a golden trophy and saying, "Pour moi." They're sending these out to people. They called up Henson Associates about the bumper stickers, and Henson said it's fine as long as they're not making a profit, which they aren't. They're just crazy people. "We've had some conversations with the Academy," says James, "and there isn't any reason why Miss Piggy can't be nominated. She doesn't have to be human. There was some concern that Miss Piggy was manipulated, but our answer to that is, hey, everybody's manipulated at one time or another." Somebody at the Academy quoted them Rule 7, which says you're not eligible for an award if all of the dialogue has been dubbed by another actor. But Bruce says Miss Piggy is her own woman. She would never allow someone to speak for her or get a word in edgewise. We've gone over the entire Academy rulebook line by line, and we are sure that she qualifies. They're getting feisty now. So they wrote to Frank Oz asking if they could get an interview with Miss Piggy that could be taped for use on the radio, and Piggy sends back a written message. I'm not going to do the voice. You're going to have to imagine the voice on your end. But Piggy said, "Now that I'm such a celebrity, I feel it would be a little out of character for me to do an interview to be used in a campaign to get an Oscar, even though I appreciate the good taste of the committee. I do expect to be nominated, however, and I'm grateful to my fans. Kissy kissy." So things are heating up. In September, People magazine has a big cover story about Miss Piggy, and it mentions Campo in the second paragraph. Campo is now part of the conversation when people talk about Miss Piggy. Late September 1979, another United Press story syndicated around the country. This is the third national article in 6 months about this effort. The total is now 25,000 letters, and James and Bruce are running out of places to store them. Bruce says we're even storing them in big shopping bags now. But each one is going to be valuable when we fly to Hollywood around the end of the year and begin making a personal pitch to Academy members to get Miss Piggy nominated. So let's talk for a second about Norma Ray, which is one of the other big movies of 1979. Norma Ray stars Sally Field, a person who will actually get nominated for Best Actress this year. In the movie, Norma Ray works in a textile factory in North Carolina, and she organizes a union at the factory. It's a very heroic role, one person on her own, standing up for what's right against the corporate interests who are trying to silence her. That's where James and Bruce are at this point. They now believe that this is a cause that they are fighting for. Bruce says, "We honestly think Miss Piggy can be nominated and win. This is people power. This is democracy at work." By December 1979, Campo has received more than 35,000 letters from around the world. Just imagine that in your house. 35,000 letters just stacked up everywhere. And that includes petitions. There's one petition from Stevens Point, Wisconsin with 7,000 signatures. Miss Piggy has released a statement. "I feel I am but a humble actress-singer, and I do not believe it is my place to comment on this wise, perceptive, discerning, and tasteful Oscar campaign." And demonstrating that this movement is actually gaining traction among the public, the New York Film Critics Circle, in their balloting for Best Actress, voted Miss Piggy a runner-up. But that is not enough for Bruce. He says, "I'm overjoyed that the New York Film Critics recognized Miss Piggy. However, Miss Piggy is runner-up to nobody." By January 1980, Campo has collected 38,000 letters, and they're getting ready to go to Hollywood and attack those windmills. Bruce is flying from Cincinnati to Hollywood at his own expense from February 2nd to February 9th to campaign for Miss Piggy. He says, "I won't have any lodging expenses because I'm accepting the invitation of West Coast Miss Piggy supporters to stay at their houses while I'm out there." Which might be my favorite part of this whole story. There's a community developing of lunatic Miss Piggy fans who are coming together as friends to make this happen. The deadline for the nominations is February 8th, and the nominees will be announced on February 25th. So there goes Bruce Collin, winging his way to Tinseltown to spread the good news about Miss Piggy.
"Well, climb aboard the bus. We'll have breakfast at Hollywood and Vine."
Now, Bruce going to Hollywood did not meet with a great deal of success. At the Academy office, they were not as open to looking at all of his correspondence as he might have hoped. But on February 15th, a week and a half before the nominees were announced, ABC World News Tonight did a feature with news correspondent Hughes Rudd on the effort to get Miss Piggy nominated. They don't mention Bruce or James, but this is about their movement, And ABC actually talked to Miss Piggy about it. Now, I've got an audio clip for this, which I will play for you right now, but just a heads up, on the source that I got this from, about halfway through, there's a breaking news alarm. It lasts for about 5 seconds and then it goes away. So don't be alarmed, it's just 5 seconds. Here's the clip.
Finally tonight, on this day after Valentine's Day, Hughes Rudd is all aglow, anticipating the Academy Awards with dreams about a certain romantic leading lady bringing home the bacon. Hughes?
Never before have two souls joined so freely and so fast.
Ah, yes, one of the all-time great romantic moments in the movies when Miss Piggy and Kermit the Frog find love at first sight and fling caution to the winds.
Never before.
Miss Piggy almost threw Kermit to the winds in her piggy passion, but if you've seen the Muppet movie, you know there's a happy ending, and Miss Piggy is now a star. To see Miss Piggy is to think of Olivia de Havilland, Betty Davis, Katharine Hepburn, Ingrid Bergman, Oscar winners all. So why shouldn't Piggy have an Oscar? There's a movement involving thousands of people all over the world who think she should, and they've written letters to say so. But there's a problem here, according to the Oscar committee.
You know, we all do love Miss Piggy. Nobody can fault her. She's adorable. But the rules of the Academy say that we give awards and nominations to actors and actresses, not to characters. And since Miss Piggy is a character, we just can't do that.
At the moment, Miss Piggy is on location in England, installed in the Anne Boleyn suite of a hotel in Elstree, which is the British version of Hollywood. So, news hawks that we are, we called her on the transatlantic telephone, expense no object. We asked her if she thinks she has a good shot at the Oscar, and in her answer, she displayed that maidenly modesty for which she's famous.
Well, as I say, Hughes, I'm being in the company of the great actresses of all time. It's quite an honor. All I would want is to be nominated. The award matters not much, really. It's really the nomination. That's the main thing. Being honored amongst my sisters, my fellow peers. But I want it.
Have you had to step on many people's backs in order to make it? I know showbiz is a tough business.
Hughes, I don't step on anyone. I mean, when one has talent, one thrives on competition. I may have cut a few people in half, but never step on their backs.
I suppose you have been accused of being a ham.
I'll just let that pass, Hughes.
What about trying to survive in Hollywood? You know, that's a pretty tough town for a poor, defenseless young female.
I can cut it.
Well, I just want to say goodbye now, Miss Piggy. Au revoir, in other words.
Yes, au revoir, as the French say.
Bye-bye.
Oh, Hughes?
Yes.
Just one more thing?
Yes.
Kissy, kissy.
All right.
Mwah.
Kissy, kissy. Bye-bye.
Yeah. All right, guys, wrap it up. How'd I do? Is this an angel's wish for man?
Everybody always says there's a lot of politics in the Academy Awards, and that's the only reason we can think of for Miss Piggy not getting an Oscar. It can't be because she's not real flesh and blood, because we've seen an awful lot of dummies step up to accept the award, and the Hollywood establishment didn't even blink. If Miss Piggy doesn't get it, we'll be convinced there's something not kosher about the whole thing. Hughes Rudd, ABC News, New York.
Thank you, Hughes.
Miss Piggy also granted an interview in the Atlanta Journal on February 22nd, just 3 days before the nominees are announced. I'm going to read an excerpt to you because it's funny. Again, not going to do the voice, but here it is. If nominated, will you accept? It would be an honor for moi to be the first pig nominated. If you win, will you accept the award? Of course. but it is too early to speak of winning. Right now, I think it would be an honor just to be nominated, so I could get a good aisle seat. Do you plan to attend the ceremony? Yes, Kermit shall be my escort. He looks gangbusters in a tux. Do you have any wardrobe plans at this time? My gown is already being designed for the occasion. It will be something daring yet elegant, something only a pig could wear. If you're not nominated, but merely called upon to be a presenter in this year's award ceremony, will you still go to Hollywood? We shall see. Being a superstar, well, I'm très busy. If you win, does that mean your asking price for the next film goes up? I am just a silly woman. I don't know about big important things like money. All I want is to fulfill myself as an actress and a pig, while Bernie watches the gross receipts. And then on February 25th, the nominees for Best Actress are announced. Jill Clayburgh, Starting Over. Sally Field for Norma Ray. Jane Fonda, The China Syndrome. Marsha Mason, Chapter 2. And Bette Midler for The Rose. And nothing for Miss Piggy. The Muppet movie was nominated for Best Score and The Rainbow Connection for Best Song, but that's it. So there's one more news article in the Associated Press on February 27th because this is still national news somehow. The article is called Sorry, Miss Piggy, No Oscar. There's a quote from an Academy publicist about how Miss Piggy is a character and we don't give awards to characters, blah, blah, blah. And then there's a last word from James Hall, who says, we sort of gave up. The article says they decided things were hopeless when Bruce went to the Academy's Beverly Hills office early in February and was basically told to skip it, kid. It sounds like Bruce showed up at the Academy office with several big sacks of letters and they wouldn't even meet with him. James says, there doesn't seem much else to do. If she couldn't get a nomination for Best Actress in the leading role, I'm glad that she wasn't demeaned to a point where she got some second-rate nomination. And that is all from James Hall and Bruce Collin. I don't know what happened to them. If they're still with us, then James is 90 years old now, and Bruce is 67. And all that remains of their battle with the Hollywood windmill is memories. And if I could talk to them, I would shake their hands and congratulate them. Because this is something that I think people have missed about this story. They won. It's Oscar night, April 14th, 1980, and Kermit the Frog, Oscar nominee for Best Song, is booked to sing The Rainbow Connection. It's not going to win, unfortunately. The Best Original Song goes to It Goes Like It Goes from Norma Ray, and Best Actress goes to Sally Field for Norma Ray, and Best Picture goes to divorce drama Kramer versus Kramer, and it's all very depressing and boring. But to introduce Kermit, host Johnny Carson brings in a special guest, and here's how that goes.
To announce the first nomination for Outstanding Song, everyone's favorite porcine performer, the exotic and exciting Miss Piggy. It's a real treat to have you with us tonight, Miss Piggy. I imagine you're pretty excited being a presenter on the most prestigious award show in the world. Well, I can see you're at a loss for words, and that's understandable. After all, we have the most glamorous and glittering names, the finest actors.
It's because I'm a pig, isn't it? It's because I'm a pig.
What is? Oh.
They know. You know, don't you?
Now.
It's because I'm a pig.
Now.
I did not get the nomination for Best Actress.
Now, come on, let's...
Yes.
Now,
yes.
Miss Piggy...
I don't care. I am too big a star to worry about it.
Let's be fair. Be fair now.
Vous talk to moi of fair? Jonathan,
yes.
You saw my performance in the Muppet movie?
Yes.
Well, can you stand there in your red tuxedo and honestly say that I am not Oscar material?
Oscar Mayer, maybe.
It's all right. You can get your cheap laughs. I shall remain
You're
the
right.
dignified superstar that moi am.
I apologize. That was a cheap shot.
I ask you, Jonathan,
yes.
in this male chauvinist non-pig world, did you think I even stood a chance?
In a pig's eye.
You're skating on thin ice, Carson.
Now, look. Look, why don't you just calm down, Miss Piggy, and you got it out of your system. Why don't you just announce the first nominated song like the true professional you are?
Yes, I shall put personal feelings aside and get on with it.
Please do that.
The first song nominated for Outstanding Original Song
That's good.
is The Rainbow Connection. It was written by Kenny Asher, who also believed I should have gotten the nomination.
Well,
And
let's try to keep personal feelings
yes,
out.
and dear, sweet, loyal Paul Williams, who is boycotting these awards tonight because I did not get the nomination.
No, he's in the audience.
At 2 Williams. All right, I'm not hurt. I'm bigger than all this. I shall continue. The song from the Muppet movie will be sung tonight by my beloved Kermit.
That's good.
Ladies and gentlemen, the first nominated song. I wanted the nomination.
Now come on. I know you did.
I took out billboards on Sunset.
Don't feel badly about it. Control yourself. Ladies and gentlemen, here's Kermit to sing the Rainbow Connection.
So that's what I mean when I say that they won. Just imagine this scene. James and Bruce at home. They're watching the Oscars. They might be watching it together for all I know. I'm going to imagine it that way, that Bruce is over at James's house and they're sitting with James's family. And to their great surprise, Miss Piggy pops up on the Oscar telecast. And to their even greater surprise, she's talking about them. She doesn't mention their names or CAMPO, but Miss Piggy is talking about them on the Oscars. And they smile. That's the way I picture it. Because this silly campaign that they put together has been appreciated on a global scale. James and Bruce helped tens of thousands of people to publicly express their love and their belief in Miss Piggy. And they did that at a time when Miss Piggy needed it. The first Miss Piggy calendar was released in fall 1979, right around the time that CAMPO was getting news coverage. And as I said, this campaign marked the point where people stopped referring to Miss Piggy as a puppet and started treating her like a real-life celebrity who just happens to be a glamorous pig. Obviously, there were a lot of factors in the rise of Miss Piggy as a character, but planting news stories worldwide for a year about how great Miss Piggy is, that was an important moment in the construction of Miss Piggy as a joke that everybody wanted to play along with. So, I would say, in the history of silly things that people have done, James Hall and Bruce Collin are kings. They got coverage in People magazine and the Boston Globe and ABC News and the Muppet Show fan club newsletter, and they got a pig puppet, their favorite pig puppet, invited to the Academy Awards. They won. So, kissy kissy, and thank you for listening to the season finale of the Fantastic Miss Piggy podcast, brought to you by my friends at toughpigs.com. This is the end of this batch of episodes, but I will be back with another season of Lunatic Piggy Obsession. Second season will include topics like, is Miss Piggy a feminist? What about Baby Piggy from Muppet Babies? What changed when Eric Jacobson took over the role? Plus, maybe more interviews. If I can wrangle some, there's a whole bunch of people I still want to talk to. Thank you to Joe Hennis and Tough Pigs for bringing this project to life. Thanks to Peter Savieri and to all of my guests. And thanks to David Sola for providing me with extremely helpful video clips. And as always, thank you to the editors of Muppet Wiki for doing what you do every day. If you have questions or suggestions or you know stuff about Miss Piggy that you'd like to share, you can write to me at fantasticmisspiggy@gmail.com. That's fantasticmisspiggy@gmail. And please do. I would love to hear your ideas for season 2. I'm also on X at FantasticMissP, or come and join us on the Tough Pigs Discord. Thank you, everyone. Kissy kissy. I'll see you next time.
Gee, I'd like to see you looking swell, baby. Diamond bracelets Woolworth doesn't sell, baby. Till that lucky day, you know darn well, baby, I can't give you anything but love.